So, konnichiwa and good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure to be here. What I'll do this morning is I will share some thoughts regarding experiences that I have in my previous roles that I've had both at the European Space Agency as head of Portugal Space, so the Portuguese National Space Agency, and of now Neuraspace. So we'll be taking you through, let's say, both policy elements, legal aspects, as well as technology elements. The first thing I just wanted to share was, indeed, we've heard it this morning already from NASA. We heard it from the Department of Commerce, that the commercial dimension, of course, of space sustainability is really quite important. Now, when we started off thinking about space debris at the European Space Agency, it wasn't something new, at least not when I entered ESA, and there had been sort of lots of activities going on in technology development. And one of the big things that ESA wanted to do at the time was take down NVSAT with a mission called ED Orbit. It was not easy at the time to get this mission underway, partially because I believe that member states and the community hadn't necessarily already recognized that space safety, sustainability was going to become a market and would become a market that is quite substantial. So that was certainly an initial challenge. And when we then decided to move forward and establish a space safety program, one of the things that we embarked on doing was trying to indeed emphasize this market dimension. Of course, it was nascent at the time, so people had to believe that it was coming. It's always hard to believe. And one of the big questions is always asked, and I guess is still asked, is who's going to pay for it? Indeed, so who's going to pay for it? And at the time, what we decided was that given that we know that there are objects in space that have to come down, and you may have seen this specific publication which identifies 50 of the most critical objects that are in space. Some of the bigger ones, of course, which pose a significant threat. We had decided that the European Space Agency could become a customer. We had decided that the European Space Agency was going to be a customer. And that's how we initiated a call for industry so that they could propose missions to take down objects that belonged or where ESA had ownership. Putting ESA, if you will, in the customer seat. And I remember receiving a call from a journalist asking me, Chiara, what are you thinking? And what I was thinking, or what ESA was thinking at the time, is if we believe that this is a market, then we shouldn't be pushing just the technology aspects. We need to push also for the economic dimension, for the economic side of things. And we did this by showing confidence that this market was going to come, but we also did it by innovation and procurement methods. And one of the things that I believe really needs to be emphasized is that innovation really isn't just about technology. Innovation is also about roles, it's about procurement methods, and it's also about legal aspects. Now, going to the element of who's going to pay for it. This news came out just recently on how there is a big contract for bringing down at some point the ISS, and it's quite a major contract if you look at the numbers. And out of spontaneity, sometimes I do come with crazy ideas. I was thinking, why can't we put up a fund, maybe in the ownership of the UN, where indeed contributing member states or the community that's willing could tackle the topic of space debris by taking care of those objects where people have ownership, maybe don't want to take care about it, to resolve the issue of who's paying for it. So again, putting together perhaps a fund out of the UN could be certainly one solution. If we can put together so much money for taking down the ISS, I think that there is space for other elements to be done. So enough said about my time at ESA. I just wanted to talk about Portugal for a second now. So when I moved to Portugal, one of the big elements, of course, if you are, let's say, a country with less financial viability, is how do we leave our mark? And one of the things that I had mentioned at the time to the Portuguese government was, of course, there are some new markets that are emerging. So if we want to leave a mark and we want to be thought leaders, but do more than be thought leaders, then it's about identifying these emerging markets where there aren't any big global players. And space safety was indeed one of the elements that we ended up pushing forward. We ended up supporting through the European Space Agency some contracts, hoping that this would put industry in key roles for future missions that would be coming up. So just to give an example, supporting some GNC elements or flight dynamic elements regarding debris removal and in-orbit servicing, because of course the assumption there is, well, any mission is going to need GNC, any mission is going to be needing these elements and flight dynamics as part of the brain behind the hardware. Now, at the time, one of the things that was also going on, of course, was bringing out sort of a space law and sort of bringing the country to a place where we could have regulation. And it's hard, in a sense, to be audacious and bring forward big elements. We've seen the FCC in the US bring out guidelines and rules whereby now objects shouldn't stay in orbit longer than 5 years. We saw the FCC fine a company for not bringing down an object. And again, here I was reflecting, if you have a big internal market, then potentially it's easier to bring out regulation, because we know that one of the elements that is always terrifying is, if you bring out regulation, how is it going to impact potentially the business? Is it going to be something that's going to be at the deterrence of further development, or will it be something that's going to support? So why am I mentioning all of this? I believe that, just as I said before, technology being an element of innovation, we also need courageous, so I'm trying to encourage all the lawyers in the room to bring out innovation in legal and see regulatory aspects also something that can evolve at a quick pace. Which I know isn't always easy, because generally means more people having to agree, and it's not quite the same as technology. But still, I'd like us to encourage ourselves to have legal elements that can be updated more frequently as our understanding evolves, and as we also have new technology elements that come into play. Now, to Neuraspace and also my other hat, where I'm professor at the Technical University of Munich, looking towards self-sustaining autonomous space activities is one of the things that obviously we want to do at Neuraspace. I'll get to that in a second. We support operators by providing SSA and space traffic management intelligence included in operations, in order to make sure that operations can become more effective based on SSA and space traffic management intelligence that we provide. At the Technical University of Munich, we're looking at new propulsion systems, for example, water-based propulsion systems, and we're trying to have these more versatile and also smaller, because we know that, of course, there's many satellites that are going up without propulsion systems. Hopefully, at some point, regulation will also fix this issue. But until then, I do believe we need to have also an economic incentive to having propulsion systems on smaller spacecraft. Now, at Neuraspace, as I mentioned, we have a commercial product that we provide to satellite operators. We produce data, we ingest data from different sources. We just heard in the previous panel how hard it is, or it's seen as a technology challenge to correlate data from different sensors with different accuracy. But I can tell you it's something that can be done. So again, if there is a will, I think that there is a way, and technology isn't the killing criteria here. We have a number of customers, as we see, and here technology developments is going towards, on the one hand, bringing further intelligence through different data sources. On the other hand, at least for us, there's a key element which is about bringing AI innovation to all of this. AI for nowcasting and forecasting. So, for example, we've developed an AI machine learning model for prediction of uncertainties, because as we know, that is a key issue when satellite operators have to decide whether they're going to move or not. Then one of the big questions is, of course, yeah, if my uncertainties are so big compared to my missed distance, why should I move in the first place? Any maneuver that I do is going to be a disruption to my service. So here we bring AI and machine learning elements to the table to support that decision making. But we bring in, as I also mentioned, automation so that satellite operators have less of an impact in their day-to-day operations and services that they need to be providing. Now, as I said in the updated slides, I had a couple more elements that I wanted to share, which are summarizing for me key elements to make sure that space safety and sustainability is a successful business. We have to make sure that the economic viability of the entire thing makes sense. I do believe that the community in the past had been focusing a lot on the aspect of sustainability from an environmental point of view, not so much on the business side of things. So again, I encourage more actors in this room and outside to help us think more about the economic dimension. And we've seen NASA bring out some studies. I was talking to SP, and the OECD, I think, can be doing more. So that's certainly the case. I do believe, again, summarizing, that we need to be more audacious in the legal elements that we bring out. It's going to be hard in the longer run of probably having international agreements, but I do believe that at a national level, the fear that it's going to have an economic impact on sort of existing players will probably be outdone by the benefit to new players. So again, it should be seen as a global element, not as an individual just point in time, just right now. And then the other element that, again, I wanted to mention is the public sector role is very important. Public sector support to the development of commercial services is also very important. I think we do need clarity moving forward on what public sector services are going to be. This is sometimes a challenge for us in Europe, and I do hope that all the players in Europe will join forces in making sure that, again, commercial players that are eager to provide key services will know what public services will be provided, building on that. And again, encouraging public sector players to renew their roles. We have many agencies, emerging agencies, established agencies, and again, based on the experience that I've had, for agencies to continue supporting the growth of the space sector, they also need to renew themselves, grow, change roles, and maintain their leadership role by reinventing themselves so that the commercial sector can also be strong. So without further ado, that's myself. Thank you very much for listening. And if you have any questions, comments, feedback, then please do reach out. Thank you very much.